Hello bass family and welcome to Everything Bass. Hey, we're in the 7th installment of the mode series, so we're at the final mode, Locrian. And it's interesting, when I started my journey learning theory so long ago, my ear didn't like Locrian at first, but I also wasn't really playing a lot of jazz. Even the heavy metal that I was playing hadn't gotten into like exploring some of these sounds. Now Locrian's much more commonly used, and definitely if you are a jazzer, it's all over the place. It's a great match for the minor 7 flat 5, also known as the half diminished scale or chord. Sorry. So let's get into the construction of how you play Locrian. Since we're in the key of C and we're taking all the scales from, or all the modes from the key of C, we're going to be doing B Locrian. And B Locrian, I'm going to use the 2nd fret B on the A string. So it starts with B, then goes to C, which is a minor 2nd, then it goes to D, which is the minor 3rd, goes to E, which is the perfect 4th. Now here we got the diminished 5th, so it's F, diminished 5th, G is the minor 6th, A is the minor 7, and the octave, of course, B. So that scale, I'll play it without talking, goes like this. Always practice your scales down. So there's a lot of uniqueness to the scale, and I think part of the reason why my ear didn't identify with it right away is, well, there's no major intervals in it at all. And it's based on a diminished triad. So let's dig into the intervals of the triad. So we've got root, of course, minor 3rd, diminished 5th. So it's a diminished triad. So right there you know that the Locrian fits for a diminished chord. So you see a diminished chord, you want to scale, you want to use some passing tones to color up the chord tones you're playing with. Locrian's a great choice. Now if we go and add the 7, the A is a minor 7. So we have the perfect arpeggio for the minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished. If you're unfamiliar with that chord and arpeggio, check out, I did a video for it, and you can just check it out, search through my channel for it, for the minor 7 flat 5, aka half diminished. So we know now that the Locrian has diminished triad, minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio within it. Other really identifiers with this is the minor 2nd, because now we have this root to minor 2nd half step. We have the perfect 4th to diminished 5th half step. Really cool tension there. As you guys know, my opinion, the minor 6, one of the darkest intervals. It's a half step away from a perfect 5th, so it kind of sounds real tense and dark. And of course, minor 3rd, minor 7, these are all really cool, really emotional intervals when you play them. So here we've got this Locrian mode. Yeah, if you're mostly playing styles of music that don't use half diminished chords or diminished chords, you might not get a lot of play in this. But I hope you still will explore it, because it's key to understanding how harmony works and how music theory lays out. If you kind of review all of these modes that I've done, you notice I've done them all in the key of C. So C Ionian, D Dorian, E Phrygian, F Lydian, G Mixolydian, A Aeolian, B Locrian. What I did there is all those modes are in the key of C, so all the modes have no sharps and flats. And I did that intentionally, so that as you're studying them, if you forget a fingering, but you know that the root for Locrian is B and use only natural notes, you'll get Locrian's fingering out of that. Speaking of the fingering, we kind of blew past that, but if you use a discipline of 1 finger per fret, you've got the index, middle, pinky, index, middle, pinky, index, ring. So the only time the ring finger is used is for the octave. So that might help you also remember how to play this scale. So you have these 7 modes now. You've gone through the series, you understand how to play each one of them in 1 octave. That's great. And little things like knowing the order that the modes appear. What's the mode built off the first step in a scale? What's the mode built on the second step of a major scale? Third step, fourth step. So if you can memorize Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, then you've got this. That's a good thing to start with. But to go deeper, I encourage you to go back through my series I did called Things to Do with Scales. It's a limited series. There's not a lot of exercises. But if you plug each one of these modes through each one of those videos, you'll really get an understanding of how to navigate it. You'll train your ear to recognize it. And all these things are very key for you actually expressing with it. And one last thing, I was prejudicial when I learned it. I didn't like the sound of it, so I didn't practice it much. I didn't play it much. But then fell in love with jazz. I noticed that like in the 90s stuff, some of the more extreme metal was using a lot more diminished and half diminished chords, and I was in that scene. So all of a sudden, the scale sounded better to me. The scale didn't change, I did. And so I encourage you to keep an open mind. One of the best things you can do to kind of get a personality attached to a scale like Locrian is maybe set up a drum beat. You know, there's a lot of free or low-cost drum apps that you can download on your phone or on your iPad or on your computer. Set up a drum beat and just start improvising, making up bass lines with the mode. Don't use any notes outside of the mode because that would confuse your ear. And then hopefully that will train your ear to find what's beautiful about the scale, what creates tension, what creates resolution. And best case scenario is jam over a play-along track that has that chord going. Since I'm at the end of the modes, I'm not going to show you any more scales for a time, and we're going to go through a thing called scale jams, or I don't know, I haven't figured the name out. But basically, I'll be recording play-along tracks that are available to my Patreon subscribers, and they will help you to do that, to develop a personality for every one of the scales that I've shown you. And so like I say for Locrian, I'll set up a couple different grooves with half diminished chords, initially staying with like one root, and so you're playing like B Locrian the entire time. Again, that helps you train your ear, helps you learn how to navigate the scale, things like that. And then alternately give you some different drum beats with some different progressions where the Locrian would fit in. So that'll be coming in the future. Keep an eye out for that. All right, so we're finished, man. Now you know the modes. And I started this whole journey saying that, you know, some people get overly psyched out. Oh, I can't study modes. That's for guys that go to college. No. Modes, just think of it as scales. I just showed you 7 different scales. In each video, I showed you which chords the scales go with and gave you some ideas on how to practice them. So then we'll transition in how to improvise them. My series Guided Improv will actually, right now, at the point of recording, I've been doing mostly chord tone and arpeggio improvisations, but they will morph and evolve into scale improvisations. So again, these will be able to be applied in that aspect too. All right, so our Hypernext study today is a great recording, and it's, okay, let me just start. It's the album This Time by Al Jarreau from 1980. 1980, I'm still in high school at that point, and MTV was kicking off, and we would hear these songs, and even though I was a pretty hardcore metalhead, I dug Al Jarreau. I liked it because he was independent. He didn't care like what he looked like when he sang. He didn't care that he was doing like, he would take a jazz standard and and sing vocals for him and create like these really cool experiences. He just did what he loved, and he always had the best musicians. Everyone kind of knows Never Given Up. It's one of his biggest hits. I think it went to #1, although I didn't look that up. But it was a top 10 single for him. But the album has so many more great tracks, and one is that particular, and the reason I picked this album, because I love Al Jarreau. I could have picked many of them. But he did a version of Chick Corea's Spain and sang vocals over it, and the band is tight and the band's smoking, and this song has always been one of my favorites anyway, but to hear Al Jarreau sing over this and the style in it. So I love the album, and I loved it for decades and decades and decades. I come to prepare for this, and I like to do a little research, dig in, see if there's any cool factoids. And I thought, I don't even know who played bass on this. And it turns out Abraham Laboriel played bass on this. One of my absolute favorite bass players. And I don't even know how I ever didn't find that out. So, if you want to hear some great Abraham Laboriel bass lines, a great singer, some just smoking bands, really great arrangements, great production. This album just makes me feel good. And hopefully, if you check it out, it'll make you feel good. And you'll just hear music at some of its highest levels. Just love this album. And definitely check out Spain. If you're just not really into checking anything else out, but I've piqued your interest about the song Spain, check it out. I really dig it. So good. So good. Okay, so that's the final in this series. Modes 7 Locrian. And with the Encore Item of This Time by Al Jarreau. So thank you so much for stopping by. As always, it means so much to me if you could subscribe to the channel. It's free. Just go right down there with the button that says subscribe, click on it. Right next to it, you'll see a little bell icon. If you click on that, you'll get notified when I upload videos. I'm in a groove now where I upload about 5 videos on the weekend and then sometimes 1 or 2 videos during the week. Just trying to keep you guys fed, keep you guys interested so that you have always something to work on, something to get you hopefully motivated to practice. Also, I would love to hear from you. You can, in the comments below, any comments are definitely welcome. I'd love for you to like suggest new videos, topics, have me go over old topics. I understand in the first months of this video channel, I had some pretty poor audio, mostly on my voice. And so if you guys would want me to re-record any of those, I plan on doing it, but I'd like to do the ones you want to do me to do first. So please suggest that. And of course, join us on our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page, Everything Bass with Dale Titus. Such a cool group of bass players, men and women from all over the planet, literally all over the planet. We have guys from Taiwan that comment or share ideas. We have bass players from South Africa. We have bass players from all over Europe. And of course, all over the Americas. So it's really fun to be able to kind of be part of this collective consciousness of bass players, share ideas, get inspired, inspire each other. That's what it's all about. So I hope to see you there. And yeah, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you guys.